everyone, welcome to the Pole Strong podcast with me, your host, Becky Dunn. Today I speak to the beautiful Vanessa Bagge, XPERT Trainer, and she has competed in pole theatre and pole art. Vanessa, thanks for joining me.
Okay, thank you for asking me.
No, well, you were actually requested through the gram.
I don't know why. I don't feel like I'm that interesting, but
Well, clearly you have a big following on Instagram though. Like although I forget this a lot. Like even though you have big followings within your community, like there's still so many eyes on you.
Yeah.
So many people are interested in you and what you're about. And
I get a lot of people that follow that are nothing to do with pole at all. And there are so many messages, then they'll be like, I hope you don't think I'm weird. It's just I'm amazed at what you guys all do. Yeah. And I'm like, that's fine, as long as you're like bringing the positivity. Like,
no negative
down. Yeah.
No,
like
negatives.
Don't start like being negative. But
also people want to see your personal life as well. And I try and get that balance of like, well, how much personal should I show? How much should I not show? I try and keep some bits private and stuff. But ultimately, like people follow you because they, like say they love watching what you're about, and people buy into that. People want to see that. So
they do. I feel like you become like a little bit of like a not a brand so much, but
100% you do, because
it is a little bit. They kind of buy into like your, like you say, like your lifestyle and like what you portray. Like I'm very careful what I post, obviously because I've got a little boy, so I tend to put so much on my stories, but I don't put a massive amount of personal stuff like on the grid.
No, I've always been the same. So I'm quite glad that I did that. So from when I started Insta, I mean, when I was like young and using Instagram for like what you do, and it wasn't very big then either. It was very personal, and like it was then it started to turn more pole. I remember like when I first started getting into pole, like looking at other people's pole Instagram and then realizing how much pole stuff they had on there, and I was like, that's what I want my Instagram to look like. Like I don't want personal stuff on there anymore. I want mine to look like that. So then my Instagram has been so pole, just pole for so long now that like it's very, very hard to go back and scroll and find personal stuff. So and I like to put personal stuff up on my story. So again, like you say, people buy into you, they buy into your style, and so how long have you been doing this for? Where did it all start for you?
Oh god, so I was trying to work it out the other day, and it makes me sound so old. But I think it's about 10 or 11 years that I've been doing pole for now. I feel like I know it's such a cliche, but I got dragged along by some girlfriends, and they were like, there's this pole class that's running like in a village near us. Let's go. And I have this theory that every woman secretly, and gay guys as well, because, they want to be good at pole. Or they want to like try it or something.
There's definitely an air of what if, like I would... what is it all about? Like I agree with that. There is definitely that.
So we went along, and it was quite funny because we were in like little sparkly tops and we didn't know what we were letting ourselves in for. And the woman that taught us was a bodybuilder, and she was incredible. She was incredible. And I remember looking at her, and at the time I've always been, fairly slim, but I was skinny to the point where I didn't particularly feel that confident in my body, and I didn't have any of these role models of these fit muscly women. So I then saw her and I was like, oh my god, like absolute girl crush straight away. And the way that she just lifted herself up on the pole and was throwing herself around upside down, I remember just thinking, I really want to do that. Like I really want to get better at it.
That desire, isn't it? Like that when you see that one move, it's like that I want to do that.
I think she literally did a butterfly, and I was like, oh my god, like this woman is a goddess. Like, I was absolutely enthralled by her. But so we carried on for a little while, and eventually some of the girls dropped out, and I made other friends that are there, and unfortunately they stopped doing that where it was, because it was just in a little local gym. And then my best friend that I have been friends with now since year 7 of secondary school was actually Dan Rosen's next door neighbour. So she messaged me and she was like, there's this incredible guy that's like my next door neighbor that is a pole dancer. Like, you should try and go to some of his classes. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, try that. Went along, and then the rest is history, basically.
I am very jealous of you guys up. I want to say up north, right? But I know you're not that far up north. But for me, I'm so down
We're
south.
above the M25. So.
Yeah, so up north where you guys are. I'm so jealous of, like, you've got like a really strong cluster of polers up there, and you all just get on. You all pole with each other. You all pole at different locations. I've seen you where you are. Is it Hertz or is that
Hearts, Dance and Fitness?
Yeah, and then obviously with Dan and training with all sorts of people. I'm really jealous. I'm really jealous. I don't have that down here.
We have come up.
Yeah, come move up. Rob, we're moving up.
We have a nice little gang.
You do.
We have, like, we all kind of push each other, which is nice, and we've all got our own individual styles, and we're very supportive of each other, which I think is so really important, especially with an industry where there can be quite a lot of competition, obviously. Like most sports and things like that, we are always each other's biggest cheerleaders, and we do have, like,
you need that.
Yeah, we do have a nice little group where we'll be the first person to comment, to tell you how incredible you are, or sing your praises, or share something amazing that you've done. And I think it's really important to do that. And, you know, you're not in competition with anyone else. I feel like the only person you need to impress is yourself. Like,
100%. There's so many things that you've said along the way, which I want to go back to, by the way. But
sorry,
I'm there. No, not at all, not at all. I mean, expanding points, but that one there, when I started focusing on what I love to do with pole, which is now the dynamic strength flips, that's, you know, my bag. That's what I enjoy to do. It's what I just, you know, I can thrash that out in like 20 minutes and go home, and even if I have like a quick 20 minutes, do a couple of flips or do something dynamic, and then be like happy that I sort of achieved something today. But when I started focusing on what I was good at and what I enjoyed to do the most, not comparing myself to others, not looking at what she's doing and like, she's so bendy and she doesn't have to warm up her splits or warm up her back bed, you know, it's like you say, otherwise it is so competitive. But it's also so interesting. I've just got a new studio. I've just got a new sign for my studio which says strong is sexy. And I've put up that it was such an important message, and it was basically going back to your point that when I first started pole, I was tiny. I was so skinny, and I just wanted to be as skinny as possible.
So did I
was eating. It's so upsetting now, because when I teach students that you can see how, like, suffering in the same way, I can, like, you can see elements of yourself, your younger self, when you first started. And it wasn't until, I think the changing point was for me, we had a workshop with Sarah Scott, and like handsprings and all of you know, all the dynamic shit that she was doing, and I was like, I want to be strong like that. And then you realize that if you want to be strong, you have to build muscle, and you have to be, you know, you have to eat, and you have to eat
better.
You can't get by on, like, honestly, what I was eating was so appalling. It's just heartbreaking. But and then you do change, don't you? You realize that you can't do this sport being fragile, and you need to be strong, and it's sexy, powerful. It is.
I agree. I think I mean, I'm an advocate that all body types can do pole, no 100%. Matter your shape, size, how much muscle mass you've got, if you're skinny, if you're bigger, whatever. But ultimately, I think that pole makes you look at your body in a different way, 100%. In a positive way, and makes you think, like, exactly what you said, like, I want to be like that. I want to build muscle. I want to have, you know, bigger shoulders, six-pack, musclier legs, whatever it might be. And it's not that it's an unhealthy body image. It's like, I've got to eat a bit more to be able to gain a bit more weight, to be able to do that, to do this, whatever,
to achieve the goals that I want to do. That's, and when I talk about girls going to the gym too, like, if you can't make pole 3-4 times a week, like, and if you go to the gym, like, stop viewing it, and this is again when it changed for me, stop viewing it as like, oh, gotta go to the gym, it's a chore. See it as, every time I went to the gym, I was like, right, I'm going to do lat pull downs to increase my back strength. Or I'm going to do a leg session so that my legs are going to be really warm, and then I can work on my flexibility for pole. And it just changes the way you, like, now I don't care what I look like, because I can do what I can do. and you look you see your body for what you can do, and it's great. And like you say, you've got those people that follow you that don't have no sort of connection to the pole industry, and they look at it and they're like, holy shit.
I know. And then you like, this is what I always say, I have a lot of students where they will compare themselves. It's natural. It's a natural human thing to compare yourself to others, whether you do it subconsciously or consciously. And I always get the whole, I wish I could do that, and I wish I could do that. And I'm like, look at what your body can do. Like, there are regular muggles off the street that cannot lift themselves upside down. Like, you have to go back and be like, I'm sorry, my body is insane for what it can do. Even though there are always tricks that we chase. There's always transitions that you think, I'm not quite ready for that yet, not quite strong enough for that yet, whatever it might be. But I think ultimately you've got to appreciate your body for what it can do as well.
100%. And again, it's healthy to have those tricks and transitions, like you said, to chase, because otherwise what's going to keep you in, apart from the love of it, of course, but you do need that drive.
You need goals.
Of course you do.
Need goals, definitely.
So before you started then, did you have any sporting background whatsoever?
So I used to swim. That was my thing.
Strong.
My mum forced it upon me, but I am forever grateful for that. So I swam from a young age. I swam at school. I swam for a club.
Wow.
And then I got asked to swim for county as well. So that was like my thing. And then when I went to uni life kind of took over, and exercise kind of took a bit of a slide to the side.
I mean, I'm not surprised at that point in your life.
Took over. But I've always been a sporty woman. Even at school, I know she'll kill me for saying this, but a lot of my best mates were always like, oh no, I've hurt this or I've hurt that, when it was PE, and I was always like, yes, PE,
the total opposite.
Loved it.
Didn't pull out the period card then,
no, I was gonna say that's what I was like, you've been on your period every week that we've had swimming. I don't
swimming, there's no way a teacher could question your period.
And they were always male PE teachers that were just like, okay, it's fine. And I'll be like, if you really thought about how a woman's body works, she used that excuse 2 weeks ago.
Don't question the young girl, but you're totally
they're just
right.
too scared, aren't they, to question. But I used to swim. That was my thing. Obviously did a lot. I was on the track teams and stuff like that when I was younger and at school. And then now, apart from pole, I do a little bit of running as well. I run with the dog. He's like my driving force, and pulls me along when I get tired. That's
perfect. Exactly what you need. You pick up the pace.
I'm like, come on.
No, so you've always had that sort of dedication to training, I suppose, too. That drive you want to, it's always been a part of your
I feel like life. It's like something where it's really funny, even if I'm on holiday, if I'm away or whatever, I'm always like, I need to do something. I need to do some sort of movement, or get a bit, sweaty, go for a run, go in the gym for an hour, anything. I get fidgety and irritated if I don't move. 100%. And even my recovery, I don't really just do nothing. It's always some sort of active recovery, even if it's doing something with my little boy, going rock climbing or something, which I know is not really recovery.
No, but that's still active recovery. You're totally right. I'm exactly the same. It's really difficult my husband always says to me, you need to switch off, switch off, and I'm like, I can't. I can't. And it probably has to do with the fact, I saw your post on Instagram the other day, how much you're juggling too. If you switch off, it's almost like
I crash.
You can't just stop, because if you stop, it's a big stop. This
is what I get a lot of, the people that are closest to me, they're like, you need to take a break, and I'm like, if I take a break, my brain goes into overload, and then it just worries about all the things that I do have to do. So it is a bit of a juggling act, and as a mum and teaching and doing everything else that I do, you have to kind of juggle it and find time for yourself. But you just have to do it in clever ways. You will always get people where they're like, oh, take some time for yourself, and I'm like, I just about go to the toilet by myself. So
Yeah, it is a lot, but also like when it becomes a lifestyle for you, and it's something that you, even though it can be a lot, it's what you love to do and you get the most enjoyment out of, like you just find that balance and sort of like what works for you.
Yeah, you do it because you have to as well. Like I wouldn't do what I do if I didn't love it. And I feel like I'm very lucky to like teach for a living, and all the stuff that I do with XPERT as well. Like I feel really lucky that it's kind of like a hobby that's become a job, which doesn't make it any less of a job, because I feel like people often think, oh, well, you do what you love for a living.
It's a lot that goes into it though, isn't there? There's a lot, like if I like on a Sunday night, if I went before, like that's for me when I have my downtime, that's my one, that is my day where I do nothing, even if that's active rest, like I'm not involved in the studio whatsoever, like
that's good,
my one day. But even so, like if it comes to 6 o'clock and I haven't started lesson planning or even thinking about, you can do that at any point, that's not to say it's on a set day, but even so my mind starts racing and I'm like, okay, well, I need to get stuff prepared for the following week, and who have I got in, and what are you going to teach? What did I teach last week? What
your brain always, it's always working.
Yeah. So what is your training structure at the moment? Because again, going back to that post, so you're doing so much. So you're doing loads of XPERT, which looks super fun, by the way. That looks amazing. Like what an amazing thing to be a part of.
Good.
Like, especially if you enjoy teaching.
Yes.
And then teaching others how to teach.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm not surprised.
It's so much fun. Like the XPERTs are hard. It's like a long weekend because it's over 2 days. And I get sick of the sound of my own voice by the end of it. But to pass on knowledge to make other people better instructors, and ultimately, I know it sounds a bit like airy fairy, but you're making other people's goals and dreams a reality. Yeah, because a lot of people, they dream of teaching, they dream of being better at pole or aerial, whichever side you do. So they are really intense, but they are incredible. Like I've been lucky enough to go to quite a few different studios here and abroad, and teach people from all walks of life. And what's really nice is that they will always stay in contact with you. Like I get little messages of like, look, like I've done this, I'm really proud of this, or
that's amazing,
tagging me in things and stuff, and you're like, well done. Like you get really proud, like you become like a bit of like a pole mum to them, where they'll message and they'll be like, oh, I've got this student who really wants to do this, can you give me some advice or whatever else. So it is really nice. It's like a very rewarding job.
Sure. I'm not surprised. Sounds incredible, so that's great. So what does your training structure look like at the moment then? When do you find the time for you?
At midnight.
Wait, I think I saw something on this, like it was like, wait, I think I saw the
not
one
even a joke,
the one where you were on the floor or something like
that would be it. That would be right.
It was really late.
So my brain and my body work best at night.
Okay.
And my boyfriend hates me for that, and he's like, you are literally like a vampire. But they do. I am not a morning person. You would just about get a fireman spin at me before 9 a.m. in the morning. So my like long teaching day is a Wednesday. So I teach at a university and then I teach at the studio. And then my classes finish at about 9:30 at night. And then I have about 3 hours that I will train after my classes then. So
is that you for the week? That's like your one training time?
That's like my big training sesh. And then I will do after privates on a Friday. So I teach privates all day Friday. So I'll maybe leave some gaps for myself or do them after. And then on Saturdays as well, after classes again. So I try and fit in. It is puzzling. It's like trying to fit in when you've got a bit of free time and when you need to. Obviously comp training kind of is hard to find the time for that, because you've got to put in so much more and you've got to be quite like realistic with your goals when you do it. But it's a little bit sporadic. But Wednesday night I will happily stay there. Like I think I was there the other night till nearly 1.
Wow. And
then I messaged Rach and Jess and I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I could carry on, but I need to go home.
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
I was like, this is unhealthy. Like
Yeah, but well, you know, it's whatever works for you too. But it also depends on your Britt Bloom said something really interesting actually, and hit the nail on the head. Like, it's never up to you what you're going to train. It's up to your body. Like, I'm exactly the same as you. On Fridays is my client day, and I'll try and fit in sort of snippets of training or whatever. But some days I am beyond exhausted. Like, and I'm like, oh, I can't train, because if I train, I'm just gonna, you know, you've got privates later on that night or whatever it is.
No, it's true. We have a funny saying that me and the girls always say, that we just like do it for the fitness. So even if you feel crap, and even if you're tired, and even if you don't get a good combo, or you don't get something that you want to film or anything, do it for the fitness, because it's never going to make you worse, basically.
Yeah, and actually that's a really good idea. That's a really good point. Like, thinking about it like that, like, even if you feel a bit shit but you get a few pull-up spins in, or just a couple of inverts and butterflies, it doesn't matter, does it?
And you'll be amazed that sometimes you'll try something, and you'll try it and try it and try it, and then you're like, no, it's just not happening, my body is just not working. Go back and do something that you know you're good at. Do like a happy combo, basically. So something that you can nail, you can do it in your sleep, don't even think about. And then go back to what you were struggling with, fresh eyes. And maybe go to someone and ask for a bit of advice, and be like, this isn't working. Like,
that is a really, really good point. Like, at the moment, I feel like I'm stuck in a bit of a rut where, like, I am training. I'm not stuck in a rut because I'm really enjoying it, actually, but I am just revisiting old stuff. You go back and do all your old stuff that you did, but then you're not really focusing on new stuff, and you can get caught in a bit of a cycle of like, what do I train? Do I do new stuff? Do I do old stuff? But I enjoy it.
I tend to mix stuff together. So I'll find like a new transition, that's something that might be a bit more challenging, a bit tricky, and then I'll put it with stuff that I know I feel pretty comfortable with. And then it kind of gives you like a little bit of a boost, because you're like, I can do that, I nailed that, but then you've got another bit that you have to really think about.
Totally. So do you structure your training in terms of, you know, what it looks like for you in goals or stuff, or do you just train what you fancy?
I write lists. I have, like, my phone has got like so many notepads on it.
How many saved folders have you got on Instagram?
Oh my god, I don't know if you'll be able to see this through the screen, right? But my Instagram, everybody laughs at me because it is so incredibly organized.
No way. I would love to wipe all of my saved and try and go organized.
I don't think you can really see it, but I have it all in the folders and stuff. So I have photo shoot ideas, so like save stuff that I find. Then I've got my own poll stuff, and then class ideas, hoop, heels, choreo, workshop ideas. So organized.
To be honest, right, mine is the same. I've got loads of folders, but what happens is when I'm saving stuff, it just gets saved to like I've got two hoop teaching folders, like two to redo folders where I've obviously created loads, and then I've got a flips folder, and then I've got a flips and strength folder. Again, I'm just duplicating. I'm clearly
amalgamated.
Mine aren't as organized as yours. I've just found a third to do. So like it gets out of hand. It gets out of hand. So you just sort of you've got ideas, like
I have ideas. If there's certain things that I've seen that I'm like, oh, I'll try and train that. I often refilm whatever I've taught, especially for my like advanced gang. I will always, as soon as we finish that class, because that's my last class on a Wednesday, I will film whatever I've done with them. So I've got a record of it, and then some of them like me to post it there so they can save it, and then they can kind of do it again in their own time.
But also for you, what I quite enjoy about that is it also gives, it's a bit of advertisement too. Like, if people are looking for like what you're about, like they can see what you're teaching in your classes. And you know, especially I put up a little post a while ago to say that like, please tag your instructor if they teach you something. I saw this.
I'm a bit of an advocate of like praise where praise is due. Like, I praise my students so much. Like, I will always reshare things that they've done and whatever, and it's a good little like serotonin boost. Like, it's
a community as well, isn't it?
100%. But I wrote this thing of basically saying like, please credit your instructor, partially because we want to shout about you, we want to show you off and show the world how incredible our students are, but also partially it's really good for a bit of self-promotion. Like I get a lot of people that will message and they'll be like, oh my god, your girls and guys are amazing, and I'm like, yeah, like come along, you know, it's a good little bit of like promo as
100%,
well.
yeah, because you're sort of showing like, hey, if you come and train with me, this is the results you're going to get. Yeah, this is what you're going to be able to do. This is what I'm teaching. This is what I'm about. So I totally agree. So
100%.
With you in your training, how do you fit in your flexibility?
How do I fit?
Your flexibility? Are you one for flexi training, or are you like
depends on the season?
Because you're really bendy. You're super bendy. So
my splits don't, touch wood, my splits don't leave me. But fun fact, I couldn't split before I had my little boy.
Okay, cool.
So relaxing is good for one thing. So I remember I was teaching when I was how far 20 weeks, and I kept it quiet for as long as I could, and I was teaching a choreo, and I just dropped down into this, it sounds so like I'm being such a big head, but it was such a perfectly flat square split, and I was like, shit, I've never been able to split before. I don't understand what's going on. Like, and it's obviously because the hormones you release when you're pregnant loosen up the joints. And a lot of people were like, since when can you split? Like, when did this happen? And I was like, okay. And then after him, they just never left. And then
oh, what a perfect situation.
I know, and it sounds so stupid, and I get so like, Dan always takes the mick and he's like, oh yeah, just get pregnant and then you get good splits. And I'm like, but you have to obviously be consistent with it afterwards. And I did like a lot of flexibility courses and stuff to get better. But going back to your question, it honestly depends on the weather. I am the coldest person in the world, and I feel like I'm very cautious of my body. Like, I know it very well. Like, if there's certain tricks where I'm like, I am just not warm enough. Like,
yeah, you know, don't you? Just know.
I just can't. So I will train things like satellite and whatever else. Like, I joke and I'm like, once a year on the hottest day of the year, I'll do it.
You have quite a flexy back though, don't you?
Yeah, my back, lower back is super bendy, like folds from my lower back. Upper back is horrendous. I hide it well through overusing my lower back, but something that I 100% need to improve on is upper back and shoulders, because they're just terrible. But it's from swimming. It's from like, even my osteo, he's like, your over back is just so like overly worked that it does just start to pull forwards quite a lot. So shoulder flexibility is horrendous, but you know, we move.
Listen, you've got your splits. Yeah, you can't you can't have it all. You can't have it all. That's something I've really wanted to work on, actually, is my shoulder flexibility. My shoulders are
it's just hard. Shoulders are hard, and I feel like a lot of people find training back and shoulders, because you have to focus so much more on your breathing and your breath and keeping yourself calm. People find it a lot harder to focus on. Like splits I find quite relaxing to train through splits and everything, but yeah, back and shoulders is something that I know I need to work on for sure.
But that being relaxed through your splits and stuff like that comes with time, doesn't it? Like that, you get to a point where you start to realize what works for your body, how you like to warm up, and then, like you say, you can really ease into that, where we've all been through that really uncomfortable, well, maybe not for you because you were pregnant and then just dropped into the splits.
Oh my god, before that, like, awful. Honestly, I used to go to splits flexibility class and I'd be like, this is torture. Like, why am I doing this?
and then finishing the class and being like, why have I not got a flat split? Like, and then the following week, like, why am I not on 2 blocks?
Yeah, so true.
So yeah, it does take time, but yeah. So that's good to know. So with sort of like recovery stuff like that, is that important to you? Resting? I know we've touched on that a little bit, but like, do you have regular massages? How do you look after yourself? How do you look after your body?
So I have the most incredible osteo. He is a god, basically.
Isn't it good, by the way, when you find someone good?
Oh, honestly, it's like they are worth their weight in gold. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, God, that's expensive for an hour. I'm like, I would pay that a million times over if he can make my body feel good, and understands what I'm doing, then that's great. But yeah, I had like most polers, I had a rotator cuff like shoulder injury a few years ago, and went down the normal channels of going to the GP and being referred for physio, and not to say that they were bad, they just didn't get what we do.
100%.
And my one thing is that they will often throw pain relief at you, but I'm not an advocate of always taking painkillers. I'm much more like, pain is your body's way of telling you that there's something wrong. So by just covering up and disguising it, you're not particularly getting to the root of the issue. So I found this osteo. He was recommended to me, and he is just absolutely incredible. And I remember going to him and saying, like, my shoulder, like the mobility in it and the movement was horrendous. And he literally stood back and he looked at me and he was like, it's there, isn't it? And he poked his finger and I was like, oh, right there, like, got it, and did so much work. And he's insane. You can go in and you can be like, oh my, I've got this little like niggle here, and then he's like, he'll look at you and he'll be like, right, your SI joint's out, or this is out, or whatever else, and you're like, cool. And then after an hour he's fixed you, basically.
It's amazing, isn't it? I did a post on this the other day and said, like, if you are working out a lot, or even just polling, if you're polling 2-3 times a week, like, you need to be getting regular sports massages once a month. Don't leave it to the point where you are injured and then you can't get an appointment for like 4 to 6, maybe even longer weeks, and you're in pain. Because like you say, like, painkillers aren't the answer.
No,
they're just a temporary.
They just mask it. They just mask it. But I'm yet to find a really good sports massage therapist. I've had a few, but I choose osteo over sports massage. But I think it's really important. I think the more we do, the more you then have to step back and realize how intense the training can be.
100%. So what does your osteo look at then? So you don't what's involved in that in your sort of appointment? Like what?
So he does a mixture. So he does acupuncture. Nice. He does electrotherapy. He does cupping. Electrotherapy is basically like, it's like a TENS machine.
Yes.
With the cups that he'll put on, and it's quite funny really because it's all connected to a machine. It looks like he's about to electrocute you. And he'll ramp it up and he'll be like, just tell me when you can't take it anymore. And you're there
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Now.
And he hasn't done it for a while, but he used to do it's like acupuncture, but the needles, it's like electroacupuncture, I think it's called.
Oh, that sounds good.
So if you haven't tried that, try that, because it is incredible. And then he does a bit of manipulation, and he'll always click you and everything at the end.
There's
so he's a bit of an
all-rounder.
Yeah, I know. He did my neck the other day, and when you like feel instant relief.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like all gooey. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? And also it's important to find someone that's right for you. I've been through so many sports therapists, like nothing wrong with anybody in particular, no, for no reason. It's just that, like, I just want one that understands my body. Like my physio now, my sports therapist, like, I know he watches my stuff. That's and I know, but so like he can understand
that he knows what you're doing.
And he understands the movement, and he understands what I'm putting my body through. And I remember my old physio, like I was saying, he was a good friend of mine and my husband's, and or my husband's friend, sorry. And I was saying, like, he doesn't even know what I do. And I know that sounds really silly. Like, I'm not expecting him to spend ages on my Instagram looking at what we're doing, but
acknowledge that it's just not a regular sport.
Just understand the movements that I'm putting myself through, like so, you understand the way that, like, when I say twisted grip, this is what's you can see the pressure that's being put. Yeah, exactly. So but it is really, really important, and it's important to look after yourself like that.
Definitely.
So I'm gonna say diet, but I don't mean diet in the sense of, it's not a bad word, it's just what we're just overall in terms of nutrition, lifestyle, stuff like that. I'm not this is the diet that I'm following, but do you look after your body? Do you how is your diet?
Okay, so I'm gonna be brutally honest with you.
Oh, love it.
I will never restrict myself, and if I want something, I'll eat it. I have never really had an unhealthy relationship with food, but we already touched on a little bit, but back when we were younger, the thing was to just be skinny. That was the look, that was what we aspired to be. It was the Kate Moss kind of era, so I never had an unhealthy relationship with food, but I was very good at saying no to things back then, because I'd be I would restrict myself if I felt like I needed to, which is obviously not a very healthy way of being. But we have takeaway night once a week. Me and my little boy, it's normally a Domino's. So we will have that once a week. But I try and be as healthy as I possibly can. You ask anyone and they will tell you that I've got an issue with chocolate. So chocolate sometimes keeps me going more than anything else. Needed. But don't you think
sometimes, I don't think it's about necessarily following a certain diet or eating, because I'm the same. I don't restrict myself of any foods, or anything like that. But again, I'm very good at saying no. I don't, if I don't really need it, I won't have it, especially because I'm a bit like you, take away sort of once a week, or whatever that meal looks like. I don't count calories at all over the weekend, but it makes a difference. I don't know if you are the same. You can feel it in your training when
100%.
I eat well, not to fuel my body. It's important for people to understand the benefits more than anything else. You need to eat well. I eat the way I do every day so that I'm not sluggish. If I eat shit for lunch, when it comes to teaching, I'm going to be heavy and bloated. Oh God,
I agree.
It's the worst, isn't it?
Completely. So before I teach, I'll always have something that's fairly high protein. I'll sometimes have pasta or something carby that will kind of
keep you going,
tide me over for a little bit longer. But me and my little boy, he's quite funny with his food. He loves olives, cucumber, red peppers. He likes a bit of an antipasti. It's quite cute. So we eat a lot of veg. We get through a lot, and I'll have with me cucumber sticks or little packs of chicken and stuff. So I am mindful, and you said, if I eat crap, I feel crap. So I try not to do it, especially on days when I know I'm teaching a lot. My partner is so good. He is really healthy. We both know that we can say yes whenever we want a chocolate cake or whatever it might be.
You can eat whatever.
Since we've been together, he will cook things and it will be good but really healthy as well. So it's nice to kind of have someone that will kind of knows that food is what's fueling you, but you can't restrict each other as well.
No, I think the culture itself needs to be changed and the way we talk about it. But it's more, like you say, it's more understanding. I think, I taught a client a couple of weeks ago, and she was in a one-to-one, and she was having a terrible session. And I said to her, "What have you eaten today?" And she'd eaten an apple for breakfast and half a protein bar for lunch. And I asked her why she didn't eat the other half of the protein bar, and she just said, because I thought it had too many carbs in it or too much fat. And and it's
becoming a bad
thing. It's again, it's people, you have to change the way you're viewing it. You were always if I didn't know how much I did now, the thought of eating 400 calories for breakfast would be Jesus Christ, that's that's far too much. When you understand that you need to fuel for the session,
and how much you're actually burning off,
how much you're burning, how much, it's changed. It's just, and it goes back to that whole being skinny, and then realizing that how you want to progress, and then realizing that you have to feel your body. But it's educating too, because there's so many.
It is. I always have like, whenever I'm teaching, I will always have like a little food bag with me, and it's always got apples in it, bananas in it, some sort of protein bar. It will have a chocolate bar in there as well, and some you need that, like, you do need that energy drink. I get to a point like where I'm like, okay, I just need a quick bit of sugar because I've got to keep going. But I also am an advocate for like electrolyte drinks,
like Lucozade and stuff like that.
Not even so much, just like, because I know that does have a lot of them do have a lot of sugar in, should I say. But I take hydration tablets, so I will just
I've got the sachets. They're so good, aren't they?
So good. And honestly, whenever I like will down a glass of water or whatever with one in beforehand, I'm like wired afterwards. I'm like, I've got so much energy. This is incredible. So I will always have them, especially in the summer, just to avoid like dehydration and stuff when I'm training, and if the studios are hot and stuff. So I feel like they're really good. They're really good as well.
Where do you get the tablets from? I have to do some research into those.
There's a brand. It's Annie Norris's husband's brand, and the name has completely gone out of my head. But we had some of them, and it's like a powder, and it was incredible. I started generate. That's it. Generate.
Okay, cool. I'm going to check that out, because where we're getting ours from at the moment is from America.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't think there's a lot of places. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I need to do some more research. But to get good ones, we found the only real ones that we really like the look of were from America. And it takes sort of like 2-3 weeks to come in. But they Generate.
They were really good, and they've got like blackcurrant flavour one as well, because sometimes they're orangey and they're very like dry. These are nice. They just taste like a really nice sweet juice. So they're good.
You are right with like Lucozades, they like stuff like that can be high, but sometimes they're also good, aren't they? We know sometimes on a Friday when I'm feeling so fatigued, I just need something. I almost feel like a plant. When you put water, you put it in your body, true. You can feel like
we are just complicated plants, aren't we? Really? So,
but I've started taking these hydration sachets too. It hydrates you like 3 times more.
So good.
And they're amazing, aren't they? They really are a game changer. Do you take any other supplements?
So I take like the Well Woman, they're like all round ones. So you get like the cod liver oil and the ones that I can't remember what they've got in them for the life of me now. I have a head like a sieve, by the way. And I also take MSM.
What's that?
So they prescribe it a lot of the time for people that have got arthritis, and it helps with inflammation of joints.
Okay.
And it was actually my osteo that said like, you should look into taking that, because it will help with your recovery and any inflammation that you get, naturally after training as well, helps it to decrease. So that's one newer thing that I've started taking. And then what's the other one called? It's like 5-HTP it's called. Which basically helps to increase like your natural dopamine levels,
right?
So that and also helps apparently aid better sleep. So that's a good one for like rest and recovery as well. So there's quite a lot. Take quite a lot.
You need it though, don't you think? I do feel like it's so needed. Like you can't do this by yourself.
Exactly.
We need help.
But I know like your body will only absorb so much when it comes to vitamins and nutrients. So there is literally no point in like overloading.
No.
So that's why I take the one that's like the all round. It's got as much as your body needs. I know I've said to people before when they're like, I take this. I'm like, that your body will only absorb so much. And if you've already got that from your other foods or whatever you're eating, that's irrelevant. Like,
it's more about what you lack, isn't it? It's more about
exactly. So you need to find out what you're lacking in, what you maybe not getting in your diet. Speak to a medical professional and see what they advise. But But yeah, I feel like if I'm quite consistent with them, it does make a difference. It does make you feel a lot better.
It does, and you can tell when you're not taking them too, can't you? Like it really does. It really does sort of impact on your levels.
Yeah,
whatever that might be, but it does.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what does your rest look like then? So, do you? I know we talked about this a little bit, but you're very active anyway. So, do you actually have any time where you do just like slumper on the sofa with your boyfriend?
So my Sundays, same as you. Sunday is technically like a non-working day.
The day of rest, the best day of the week.
The day of rest, literally the day of rest.
So, as God said.
Yeah, exactly, as he asked. So technically I don't, but with comp training and stuff, I've kind of had to give up a couple of Sundays, and also for things like workshops and experts as well, because experts are over a weekend. But technically Sundays as well, like Saturday night we normally just mong out, watch a film, or go out for like a nice dinner or something like that. So that's when that's your
downtime. You've mentioned a couple of times about comp training. I just thought you were talking in general. I didn't realize. So are you actually training for a comp at the moment?
Yes, I have pole theatre in April. It's like 5 weeks away.
This is where you guys are so lucky, where you've all got each other up north.
Up north.
Up north. Because you can really heavily rely on those guys around you, and you've got such good experience around you. Like Jess just won the other day, didn't she? She won.
I know, bless her, she was incredible.
And even with Rachel, she's hadn't had her fair share. Dan, you've got so much good experience around you.
They're a good little gang, and like, I mean, we talk every day, especially me, Jess and Rach. Like, we have basically planned out, because Rachel's doing pole theatre as well, so we're like bouncing ideas off of each other, planning it out, helping with music. It's really important, like even for sanity. Like, there's been so many times when I've messaged them and I'm like, oh, I don't have the time, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, I'm hoping that this routine is just going to come to me in my sleep. But it's good. To be fair, sometimes it does. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, yes, that's a good combo. Write it down.
I would love to. I think I'm at a point where
have you done a comp?
No,
you should do it.
I know, and I feel like it gives me this might be right or wrong, by the way, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but I just think if I did a comp, I think it does give you a bit more clout in the industry. Personally.
It does. The thing that I will say is that you've got to do comps for the right reason. Hence why I haven't technically done that many. I've done pole theatre a few times and pole art.
So very theatrical ones that you've gone for then, because I know you've got loads of different. You've obviously got your pole theatre, like you've got that theme running through it, and it's a bit more creative, and then you've got your UK PDC, and where it's a lot more
about the tricks and stuff,
and more gymnastics based, that sort of style. So there is so many, and I saw there was a new instructor comp. This and a Great British comp that Jess just won. That's a brand. That was a new comp, wasn't it? That was new, wasn't it?
No, that's been for a little while, because Emma Coffey runs that one. I think it's not that old compared to the pole theatres. The
OGs. But this is for me, like, I don't feel like I've got anyone to turn to down here personally, where I can be like, hey, I don't even know where to start. Like, I've looked at it once and it scared me off.
Do you know what though? I will say, like, the pole industry is a friendly bunch. I feel like if you came, like, even to people like me, Jess and Rach, and we're like, I want to do a comp, like, what's your advice? Like, we've all done enough. Like, I like the theatrical ones. I like them where they're a bit of escapism. You can kind of become a different character.
Yes.
It's not so much about just what you can do on the pole. It's about like sparking emotion in people. Like my pole up one from, what year was it? 2018, I think it was. Was possibly the most depressing routine I've ever done. But it sparked emotion, and it's quite nice to get across like an important message or how you're feeling at the time. So I feel like if you want to do comps, don't do it because you feel like you should, because I don't think there's any pressure.
No, I don't. I agree with that. I don't think there's enough. I don't think there is pressure, but I think there comes a time where you're like,
I feel like everyone should try it.
Yeah, and I don't want it to
try.
I don't want it to be too late. I don't want to look back and be like, oh, why didn't I do it? You know, and I was speaking to Jade about it too. Jade's, all of you guys are so experienced. So yeah, maybe something for the future.
Do it. I'm gonna badger you now.
Like, you'll be like, for God's sake, like, I wish we'd never mentioned to her that she
no, but messages from all of us.
Yeah. Pissed off. Well, good luck with your comp. So how is training going so far?
It's okay. I've got the body of it. I've got the theme. The theme is like, pardon?
Got the music?
Yes, got the music.
I think it's the hardest part.
Oh God, 100%, because when with my theme, I can't have a song that I would usually dance to. Like normally I like quite atmospheric, beaty music, love a bit Dermot Kennedy, things like that. But with this and this theme, it's the music is quite out of my comfort zone. So that was hard. And I remember like doing bits of it and I was like, oh my God, this is just so not me. But I've got to switch off and become my character. To try and make it as much me as I possibly can. So
yeah. Well, this is exciting. I'm excited to see the final product.
Yeah.
And it will be worth it. It will absolutely all be worthwhile. So with your comp then, so your training time now, is that is that all focused on comp, or just do you dedicate one day? Is that like
not so much? I'll go like
insane.
We're going insane. You will literally go insane. You have to, like, even if I am doing comp training for students and stuff, you need to have like your set time for just competition routine, just for getting through it, planning it out. But then you've also got to, we like to say, like, treat yourself, train something new, because otherwise you will get sick to the back teeth of doing the same thing over and over again, and you'll end up resenting it. So I will, every time I will train at least one of my combos that I want to put in, and then when it gets to maybe next week, maybe I think I'm going to do a big session on Sunday, I'll try and run it all the way through, and then pick apart and see what works, see if there's bits that I'm like, don't have the energy for that there, or I have got the energy, that's great, I can do something a bit harder.
When I did my podcast with Christy Sellers, she spoke about how she comp trained, and it is so fascinating. She she does the same pretty much like you do. She breaks her combos down into segments so that she can do every combo at like high speed, essentially. Full energy. So that and her body understands exactly the type of energy levels that are expected through that bit, and then putting it all together and then being like, okay, like you say, I don't think I'm going to have the energy to do that then.
I think that's the best way to do it, because if your body gets used to knowing exactly what it's got to do in those combos when you have got full energy, when you feel pretty good, when it then gets to it will hopefully start to remember and be like, okay, I can do this, I've done this a million times over. But the thing is with pole theatre as well, it's not so much about the tricks, it's not so much about these big massive combos. So I've put things in it, I've got a couple of things that are quite challenging, that will challenge me, and then I've got things that I'm like, that's my forte, like that's what I'm happy with and comfortable with. That's my go-to. So I've got a bit of a mixture. So I feel like you have to do that with comp as well. You have to put in your happy things, your things that you can do with your eyes shut, and then put in a couple of things where people will be like, oh, that was cool, like that's a bit new. So
are you going to be, my one question, are you going to be wearing socks? Like, I saw you're a sock girl like me. I hope I don't have to honestly
we're the same, aren't we?
I hope I don't have to take my socks off on Thursday. I'm packing like 6-7 pairs. Because
I've got a different colour for every outfit.
you know this is right, this is true. I
had a student say to me the other day, she was like, you're always wearing those socks. Like, do you have more than one pair? And I'm like, I have like many multi-packs of things.
Yeah. Last night, actually, I did feel, I was like, oh God, this is that. So I had my class last night in pole, full class. And there's everyone bar one person wearing socks, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Started a trend, though.
This is like you are all a byproduct of me.
Yes.
Like my clients, my private clients as well, will train in socks. And I'm like,
Yes.
I can't say no, don't do that, because I'm doing it. And I do it because I've trained in it, and I've trained hard, and I can train in clothes because I've learned continuously.
It's good muscle engagement. Yeah,
it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to take that. It is, though, because you do have to work a little bit harder. But yeah, you see,
I will do foot grip. I will do foot grip moves in socks. Like
same. Or
because I'm like, my feet are too fucking cold. I'm not taking them off. I've
just always loved the way it looks. Like I think it looks so sporty. So
it does.
Yeah,
it's
so
cute.
You
saying that as well. Like a few of my girls as well. Like they come to Poe, and I'm like, that's a very Ness outfit. Like, I'm feeling this, guys.
Yes. This
becomes like a little fashion show.
Yeah, that you can see which students are proper little byproducts of you, can't you? I love it. I love it. And that again, so the community and all of it is what it's about, isn't it?
For sure.
Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for joining me. I feel like I haven't even covered everything. I feel like we could just keep going.
I know. I'll just keep talking to you for hours.
And I happily do the same. And this is why I love you so much, because you're just like-minded people having a chat. Why not connect across the industry? And again, it's making those friends, and like, why not? We are really a real big community, and we're all all there to support each other. So why 100%, not?
100%.
So well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.